How in the world did a tennis player go from this forehand to this forehand in just 7 days without taking a single lesson? In this video, I'm going to reveal the 5 steps that he followed so that you can copy them and get similar results. Hey, my name is Ian. I'm the founder of EssentialTennis.com, where over the years, I've helped more than 1 million tennis players improve through my YouTube channel, my podcast, my best-selling book on Amazon. The first step this student followed to get that kind of result was he recorded himself to find out exactly what he was doing and not doing on his forehand ground stroke. And I know it's super tempting, especially if you've been around the sport for a long time, you've taken a lot of lessons, you've played a lot of matches, you've won a lot of matches, to believe, well, of course I know what I'm doing with my forehand. Of course I know how I'm taking back my racket and whether or not I'm turning my body and how I'm using my kinetic chain and what position my feet are in. I'm sorry, but you actually don't. You don't know until you actually get third-party verification, meaning some kind of external perspective or view of yourself. It's too easy to fool yourself into thinking that you're doing things right the longer and longer and longer you play, because we believe that when we hit good shots, it must have been by doing it the right way. But the reality is you can hit all kinds of really good tennis shots that win lots of points the wrong way. You can move your body poorly and still hit good shots. I could use my handle to hit a good tennis shot. That doesn't mean that it's the right thing to do and the best way to get the best results on the court. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, I take tennis lessons, so that's an outside perspective. My coach is telling me from, externally, separately, hey, you need to do this, oh, nice job, like you did that. But honestly, unless the coach is also using video, they're missing things too. Too much is happening in too short a period of time for them to get all of it right and to give you the best feedback and to provide you with the best guidance about what you should focus on unless video is being used. So record yourself, that's step number 1. The second step this player took was to take that video and compare it to professional examples to compare and contrast. What was he doing that was similar to professional players and what was he doing that was completely different? And in the case of this particular student, I actually did it for him because he's a member of Essential Tennis Academy. And so I took his forehand and I compared it to Roger Federer, Novak Djokovic, Victoria Azarenka, and Caroline Wozniacki, and compared specifically his contact point to see what was similar and what was different so that we could start to get a clear picture of what do these professional players do that's very similar and what is different from what this player is doing so that we can find out what opportunities are there. Now the tricky part about this is even from professional player to professional player, you're going to see contrasting styles. And there's a difference between the fundamentals that like all players that are above a certain level have in common and stylistic elements. The forehand of Roger Federer is very different from the forehand of Victoria Azarenka. But both of them at the point of contact when they're in balance are going to have their hips facing forwards and their shoulders facing forwards because they've rotated their body forwards before they've made contact with the ball. And that's something that my student was absolutely not doing. And we can see very clearly when compared to each of those 4 different professional players that he was way short of what should have been done. You can do this by yourself. There's lots of very high quality, great slow motion footage of all kinds of professional players on YouTube. It's not very difficult to record yourself, grab a clip of your favorite player, and start to compare and contrast what are the fundamental movements that they're making and how is that different or similar to what I'm doing. If this video has been helpful and you're learning something, do me a favor and click that like button. It helps with the algorithm. Thank you so much. The third step that this player followed was we created stepping stones in his training. What I mean by stepping stones is anytime you find something in your technical game that's way short of where it should be and you try to change that habit to something better, it's like trying to cross a really wide, raging river with like rapids and like really aggressive current going down the middle of it. And when you take that new habit, you say, okay, I'm gonna take that new habit. I know I'm supposed to turn my body forwards before I make contact. All right, great, fantastic. And then you go and you play a match telling yourself and trying to constantly remind yourself to do that new habit. It's like trying to cross that river by just cannonballing into the rapids and then trying to like swim as fast as you can to try to get to the other side. And the current, the really aggressive water, is like your old habit. The old habit wants to sweep you away down the river, and it's really hard to struggle against that old habit because you've done it so many times, probably for years and years, maybe tens of thousands of times. This player has hit his old forehand in that old way. So just because he knows, oh, I'm supposed to turn my body, doesn't mean he can just snap his fingers and do it. There has to be progressions. And in the case of this particular student, I just gave him 3 training progressions, starting from a very, very easy progression, then getting a little bit more challenging, and then getting a little bit more challenging. And that's like placing big rocks in the middle of the river, one step at a time, so that you can step by step by step make your way across to the other side and train the new habit. So for this particular transformation, we started with segmented shadow swings, focusing on stretching and leading with the body. Then we did smooth, continuous shadow swings, focusing on the body leading and again creating that stretch. And the third progression that this student followed was dropping a ball to himself while trying to do the new swing correctly. The fourth step that this student took was you have to do the work. And I know you're probably saying, well, duh, yeah, I know, Ian. And you probably understand that you can't sit and just watch YouTube videos or videos on Facebook or TikTok and be like, oh, cool, I didn't know I was supposed to turn my body and instantly get better at tennis. Of course, at some point, you have to come out here to the court and actually swing and hit forehands. But here's the hard part, okay? Here's the part where there's gonna be friction, is you have to do the new forehand more frequently than you do your old forehand. So here's what I mean, practically speaking. Let's say in a normal week, you play tennis 3 times. Great, you say to yourself, I'm gonna play a match on Monday, I'm gonna play a match on Wednesday, and on Friday, I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna train my new forehand. Well, guess what? You're never gonna have a new forehand if that's your schedule. Because on Monday and Wednesday, when you go out there and you play those matches, no matter how many times you remind yourself, do the new forehand, do the new forehand, you're gonna do the old forehand because you so badly want to hit the ball in the court on the other side and you so badly want to win the match that your subconscious is automatically gonna take you back to the old forehand because that's the only way you know to hit the ball is by doing the one you've done tens of thousands of times before. This student did the work, only focused on the new forehand, didn't do the old forehand. It's a big reason why he made a big transformation. The fifth step that this student took was to compare again. If you do analysis once and you uncover this big problem and you go and you do lots of training and in 6 months you don't check it again until 6 months later, you might become really disappointed to see that you actually just slowly merged back to your old habit again and you didn't actually improve your game. 7 days later, I got a new video back from the same student and his forehand looked like this. So huge congratulations to this player, but please don't fall for the trap that now he's fixed. He only did those 3 very controlled progressions, those very controlled stepping stones, and now the process from here is to continue to take stepping stone after stepping stone after stepping stone, make it a little bit tougher at a time until finally we arrive at real tennis, where your opponent is actually challenging you, stressing you, pushing you around, and you're doing the new thing right. That takes 3 different ingredients to ever get to that point. The quality of your repetition has to be very high, meaning doing the new thing actually correctly. The quantity of your repetition needs to be the vast majority of your repetitions need to be the new one, the good one. And then we need to take into account your DNA and like how gifted of an athlete are you. So those are the 5 steps. If you'd like me to help you through those 5 steps, just go to essentialtennisacademy.com. You can get in for free for 7 days. Go check it out. You can submit your video to me and I can help you make a transformation just like I did this player.